What's going on, San Diego? Jon and Jim on a Friday. Jon is on assignment today, so it's just me and Brent for the next 3 hours. Padres, they are back on the road where they are a completely different team starting tonight in Kansas City. 5:10 first pitch versus the Royals. We have an NBA Finals matchup all set. EA College Football 25, or excuse me, EA Sports College Football 24 released gameplay today.
That's 25.
It's 25?
Yeah, because they're always a year ahead.
Okay. Well, anyway, they released gameplay. We'll talk about that in the show. Kevin Acee is going to join us. We also have 2 pairs of Janet Jackson tickets to give away today. We'll give away one during Trainwreck Radio. We'll also give away 1 pair later in the show. I assume we're going to hear from Schulte, his pregame comments in Kansas City coming up here in a little bit. But, this team on the road is just a completely different baseball team. And you almost get excited when they go on the road this year because they play better on the road. They hit better as a team on the road. They're one of the best teams in baseball on the road. And, oh, by the way, they play really well against good teams in baseball. And you know what's happening tonight? They're playing a really good team in baseball. We don't keep up much with the Kansas City Royals here in San Diego because of obvious reasons. But the Kansas City Royals are, I would say, Brent, one of the surprise teams in baseball this year. They went out in free agency. They spent a good amount of money. They got Michael Wacha. They got Seth Lugo. And they, I would say, are one of the better teams in the American League. And it's interesting how in the last decade plus here, the Kansas City Royals have won a World Series. They've been to 2, by the way. They've been to a World Series in 2014, World Series winning team in 2015, and then they completely tore it down, and now they've built it back up again where, their overall record this year, they are
35
and 23. They have one of the best players in the American League in Bobby Witt Jr. Salvador Perez is also one of the best players in just baseball in general. It's interesting how over the last decade, that team's won a World Series, been to 2, tore it down, and now they've built it back up to where they're contenders again in a decade. You can do a lot in a decade.
Well, they're like the Marlins of the AL. Because the Marlins did the same thing. Every time they won, they just blew it up and then built it back up.
They didn't blow it up right away.
Yeah, but the one year they did, the Edgar Renteria year they did.
Well, no. I'm talking about the Royals.
Oh, okay,
yeah. No. They're completely different. They kind of won the World Series, went on a little decline. Obviously, Hosmer left, and then everybody else left. Salvador Perez stayed there, and they've built this thing back up. Interesting how that happened over the last decade, and now they're still, I would say, better than the Padres.
I think the Royals would get more attention this year if the Guardians weren't 37 and 19.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. They're just kind of like an afterthought just because of that. But yeah, you wouldn't guess that the Royals, like I said, like you said, they're one of the surprises in the American League. But if it wasn't for the Guardians, I think they'd be getting more press than what they're getting.
Well, anyway, couple things that the Padres do really well is play good teams in baseball. They are really good against right-handed pitching, and they're facing a right-handed pitcher tonight, an old friend, Michael Wacha, and they're playing a really good team in the Kansas City Royals. So you might say, favor Padres. Well, I would have to agree with you. The Padres haven't shown me anything this year so far on the road, and especially against good teams on the road, that you don't go into this series feeling pretty good about yourselves if you're the Padres. So it will be a test this weekend after having kind of just like an average homestand, 3-3 homestand. You're around 500, even though Schulte thinks that this team is better than they are. That's a question that I put out there on social media today. At 30-29, do you think this Padres team is better than their record? Do you think they're better than their 30-29 record? The famous saying, they are who we thought they were. Like, you are what your record says you are. Or do you think they're a better team than 30-29? Are you Are you with Schulte, who views this team in the rosiest of rosy glasses possible and looks at every single positive? Or are you more of a maybe realist and say, okay, they've played well of late, but their record is still what it is. They're 500-ish. They're one game over, which is not bad. It's actually, I think, pretty decent for everything considered. But I think they should be better. Or do you think they're right where they should be? Because of the offseason they had and some guys on their team not performing, especially the superstars. Where do you think they stand? 877-767-4760, or you can text me 70470. Start your message with team. What do you think, Brent? You think they're better than their record is right now?
I think they should be at least one game better than the record is.
One game better?
Go back to the game they blew in Colorado.
They blew a couple, yeah.
But it's not. They haven't had a lot of games that were like that, to where it's just, we sat here for 2 days just stewing about how, if they would have done this or they would have done that, we should have won that game, or we had that game when we blew it. It seemed like last year that happened at least once a series, and this year they've kind of calmed it down. So I think they're about where, we're stick with the Denny Green thing. I think they're about, they are who we thought they were.
See, I'm going to probably surprise you and a lot of people. I think now, is it, if I said I think they should be better, that's different what I'm asking, right? Yeah. Cause I think they should be better. I don't know if they are better, but they should be. Like, they should be better than this, I feel like. And why I say that is because of the superstars not performing. I think that if you had the superstars performing, I think they're a better baseball team. I do. The ups and downs of the season so far, sorry, Schulte, is because of the inconsistencies with their play, specifically against left-handers, specifically at home, and because of their superstars. Those three things right there are the reasons why they are pretty much just an average baseball team at best right now. If one of those three things improves, I think they can take a little bit of a bigger step forward. But if those three things are going to continue through the majority of the season, Brent, it's hard to envision them like taking that leap, or at least stepping forward without tripping over themselves constantly, which is what they've done for a majority of this season. Yes, I know they're 15-11 this month. That's awesome. That's great. That's exactly what they needed to do after their subpar month of April. But can they keep this up? Can they keep up this pace without those three things happening? Them sucking versus left-handers, them not being able to win consistently at home, and their superstars all not performing. It's hard to envision that happening and them taking that leap if those three things don't change. Now, luckily tonight, you're not going to be facing any of that. You're facing a right-handed pitcher, which you do really well against. You're on the road, which you're one of the best teams on the road in baseball. And you have one of your aces on the mound in Dylan Cease. So it's for the next day or for another day, but still it's the constant question that remains: is this team going to be better than they are? Because I feel like there's a little bit of mostly from Schulte, a lot of like settling, like, hey, we're fine, we're right, we're doing great, instead of like acknowledging that, yeah, you might be where you want to be now, but we still have to improve on a lot of things, and we could be better, and we need to be better if we expect to make the postseason.
I think it's a little bit of one of those things when they always say, a little bit out of column A, a little bit out of column B, because part of their problem is, they won't score any runs, but they'll get great pitching. Then they'll start to score runs, but then the pitching will go away. It's like we can't just get like a happy medium of just get some consistent pitching with some consistent offense. It's like we can only get one or the other. It's like the Matrix thing, we have to be complete polar opposites.
The blue pill or the red pill?
No, I was more with Neo and Agent Smith about how they have to be polar opposites. They they both can exist with one another. We either can hit and we can't pitch, or we can pitch but we can't hit.
Yes, that's like the definition of roller coaster and bumpy ride
I take offense to the roller coasters.
Yes, you're not getting everything that you want. So tonight it sets up for them pretty well, I would say, going into this game, being it that you're playing a good team, you're facing a righty, and you're on the road. Like those three things there alone set up well for this Padres team. And honestly, it's like I feel way more confident when this team goes away from Petco Park. Like, get away from Petco Park, and you feel better about this team. Now, here's the problem, Brent. Say they have a slip up this weekend. Say they lose the series, and now you're under 500, or you are at 500, I think, because it's a 3-game series, if I'm not mistaken. And you're sitting there like going, well, we're a much better team on the road, and we didn't play like it. So now it puts pressure back on to be a good home team. That's where this whole thing gets tricky, is if you're going to continue to play, average baseball at best at home, you're going to have to continue to play really good baseball on the road. And that's where the pressure comes in. And can this team handle that type of pressure? Because they couldn't last year. They crumbled. This year, it's yet to be determined. I think they have done pretty decent after some rough stretches of games where, get swept by Philadelphia. You had that 5-game losing streak. You lose 2 or 3 to the Yankees. And every single time, they've all answered the bell. They came back with a winning streak after the sweep versus the Phillies. They came back and won a bunch of series after the 5-game lose, after the Rockies series there. And losing 2 or 3 to the Yankees, well, they came back and they won 2 or 3 versus the Marlins. So they're resilient. They're gritty. But still, the longer this goes on, like the more pressure is going to build, and it's going to make it so you have to be really good on the road, and not just really good on the road, like the best team in baseball on the road, if you're going to continue to be just average at best at home. And so going into this road trip, because you had a 3-3 road trip, if you want to keep up this pace that you're playing on, this 15-11 pace over the last month that Schulte only cares about, probably wants to wipe away April. In his mind, Brent, he probably doesn't even remember April. He's like, April, that didn't happen. Did you guys see what happened in May?
You mean the month where we won 7 out of 9 series or whatever he keeps pounding in our head?
Look, the May's what matters, guys. April, that's so far away. April doesn't count. April doesn't count towards our. Oh, it does. Yeah, it counts towards your record, Schulte. So that's where the pressure is going to come in with this team going forward. They have to maintain their road dominance and be the best team one of the best teams in baseball on the road. Because look, if just looking over their schedule real quick, all right. Next couple weeks, you're facing Kansas City here for 3, and then you go to LA to take on the Angels. Well, if you come home and you don't have a winning road trip, I'm not saying that, Arizona and Oakland's going to be a cakewalk, but do you have any confidence that they're just going to all of a sudden have a, 5-2 homestand because they haven't had one all year?
No, because that's one of those things where you're like, Oakland.
I know.
And then
Oakland.
And then we'll lose 2 out of 3 and just look apathetic and lost for 3 games.
So it's very important for this road trip to continue to play good baseball, because then you're going to put pressure on this team to win at home, and they can't win consistently at home. They just can't do it for whatever reason. I don't know why. I just have no idea why. But it starts tonight, and the Royals, they're looking at some of these numbers here, Brent, the top 4 in their lineup, just listen to this top 4 of their lineup. It's like, man, that should be us. That should be the Padres, not us, but if you're a member of the team, that should be what we're doing. You have Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez, 2 of the best players in the American League, both with over a 900 OPS, both over 40 RBIs, both hitting over 300. Padres have one player in Jerkson and Profar with a even remotely good OPS compared to that. Everybody else 800, 700. I mean, it's 600, 5. Like it's crazy how when you see what two superstars are doing, and there's probably a very easy reason to say why they're also 35 and 23, because yes, their pitching has been good. Seth Lugo's been really good, but guess what? When your two superstars perform, kind of makes things a little easier. And if you have a good team around you, your two superstars can lead the way. That's what this Padres team is missing. If Tatis and Machado were doing what Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez doing, I guarantee you, their record would be similar to the Kansas City Royals right now. Guarantee it. I know John thinks maybe 1 or 2 games over. I think they'd be at least 10 games over 500, around there. Maybe like 8, but you can't tell me that if the two superstars that need to perform, Tatis and Machado, were doing what Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez were doing, this Padres team wouldn't be infinitely better, because I think they would.
You know what else worries me now that I look a little more into the Royals? Do you see what their home record is?
It's a very good home record, Brent.
They're 21-8.
It's a very good home record. But
it seems like every time John is gone, they play some team that's like 35-2 at home.
Well,
because the one week they played the Cubs, and they had that awesome record.
15-5 at home, yeah.
And then it was, who was it after that? Last time he was gone, they played somebody else.
The Braves.
They played Atlanta. They had that awesome home record. Yep. So it was both those times. Padres won the series.
Well, they won the series, which Schulte loves. That's all that matters to Schulte, is win series. He's
not alibiing.
He's not alibiing it. There needs to be an alibi shirt somewhere. But the home record of the Royals doesn't scare me, because the Padres have played really well on the road. And so if this team was average on the road, if they had say things were flipped, Brent, say they had the home record, which is their, their road record, home record, say they were flipped, then yeah, this series would scare me. But the Padres are one of the best teams on the road, and you're facing one of the best home teams in baseball. And if trends remain the same for now, the Padres are in a good spot for the series. They just are. But then if they have a slip up, then it becomes a situation where you have more pressure on yourselves to play better at home. So it's a big series this weekend for sure. Because if they say they win 2 or 3 versus the Royals, then it's like, okay, you're a couple games over 500. You're headed into June, and you just beat one of the best home teams in baseball. You feel pretty good about where things are going, and you just hope that they don't have these like trip over themselves slip up series, which they've had this year. And then Schulte can walk in that press conference and say, we've won 8 of 10 series, and puff his chest out. And anybody that asks a question about when they lose a game, then he has ammo for them to say, whoa. You're talking about how we just had 5 errors in this game? No. We just won 8 of 10 series. I don't care if this team gave up 12 runs in a game to lose the finale, to not sweep. We just won another series.
Oh my gosh. I love this team.
Oh my gosh. I love this team. So yeah, we'll see tonight. Michael Wacha, Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease has got to have a better start tonight, because he's had a little bit of a slip up here recently, and you need that guy that you saw earlier in the year when you're like, okay, the top 5 Cy Young candidacy guy. Right now, it's not been good of late, but I'm a firm believer in Dylan Cease, that he's going to turn things around and be continuously that ace like for the Padres.
Well, and you have to remember, he was with the American League for years.
Played the Royals a lot.
Exactly. So he's familiar with, is it still Kauffman? They haven't sold the rights to.
I don't know if the name's, I don't know what the name of the stadium's called,
Charms
Brent.
Blow Pop Stadium or whatever the hell they call it these days.
Well, apparently Paul Rudd is there. Did you hear that? So
Well,
Jeremiah,
probably.
because he's a huge Royals fan.
Well,
yeah.
he's KC super fan, everything.
Right.
You
But
know, before everyone labeled Taylor Swift the big super Ant-Man's been there the whole time, everybody.
yes, is that the first thing you think of when I say Paul Rudd? Is that the first thing you think of?
Yes. It's not my favorite Paul Rudd movie, but it's the first thing I think of.
What's your favorite Paul Rudd movie?
Probably Role Models. But I can't remember what the hell his name was in Role Models. I don't remember what Stifler's name was either. That's why I always call him Stifler.
That is true. Yeah. But Paul Rudd is there. Apparently, he was walking on the field during the Jeremiah Estrada interview, which was
Dude, that'd be awesome.
Which was kind of fun to hear Jeremiah Estrada earlier on with Darren as he's interviewing. He's like, "Oh, look, there's Ant-Man." like, well, that's a weird. And so, that's kind of a cool little story there. I think I would stop everything I'm doing and be like, "Oh, there's Paul Rudd." Yeah, that's Ant-Man right there. All right, coming up next, interesting comments from Michael K about Juan Soto when he was here over the weekend. And I feel like I haven't talked about any of this because of the wedding. So I kind of need to get this off my chest. We'll hear Michael K's interesting comments about Juan Soto's time here in San Diego coming up next. All right, coming up next, interesting comments from Michael K on Juan Soto's time here in San Diego. You'll hear those coming up next. This update's brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone. Padres and Royals start a 3-game series tonight in Kansas City. 5:10 first pitch. Michael Wacha on the mound for the Royals against Dylan Cease for the Padres. And last night, the Dallas Mavericks beat the Minnesota Timberwolves in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. They won the series 4-1. They're moving on to the NBA Finals, where they will take on the Boston Celtics starting on June 6th in Boston. The free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help troubleshoot the likely cause of your pesky check engine light for free and help you save time and money down the road. Restrictions do apply. Get in the zone, AutoZone. There's going to have to be a book written on 2023, I feel like. The Padres. It just we just can't get away from it. The more we try, the it's like, nope, here's a little nugget from last year to talk about.
There'll be a chapter in Sleepy Bob's memoir.
Sleepy Bob. Well, yeah. I mean, I heard Kevin say one day that he only would consider writing a book if like the current iteration of the Padres like won a World Series. And it would go back to like, all right, here's the ups and downs and the trials and tribulations of this team to get to where they want to get to and where they got to, which is a World Series. But other than that, probably not going to see much written about the last year's team and everything that happened. It's just going to be all, he said, she said types of stuff. And you're probably saying, well, Jim, you're the one that's still talking about it. You're saying you want to get away from it, but you keep talking about it. Well, yeah, one, because Michael K was talking about it today. It's not like I'm trying to bring this about out of nowhere. And two, I missed the Yankee series, so I need to get a little something off my chest. And I wasn't going to talk about it. I wasn't even going to mention Juan Soto at all. Like, I don't think we talked about Juan Soto at all this week.
Very briefly.
Very briefly. But when you hear things like this from Michael Kay, who is the Yankees play-by-play voice for the Yes Network, you're kind of thinking to yourself, oh, that's interesting. This is what Michael Kay had to say on the Rich Eisen show.
It's funny because we were just in San Diego, as you mentioned.
Yes.
I was talking to a lot of people there, and he was not beloved in that clubhouse. Just wasn't.
Really?
And he's beloved in that club. I mean, maybe it's the Judge influence,
Right.
because Judge really is the captain, and he sets the tone for the whole room, and he's very inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's one of the guys. He loves being there. They love him there. There's none of that friction. So when I hear that, when I was in San Diego, this guy,
Really?
he's not that guy. He plays hard. He runs hard.
Yeah.
He seems like he's having a blast, and he's having an MVP season. It's going to be amazing. So the highest salary right now in baseball is $46 million in present day value. That's Ohtani.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll blow by that.
What do you mean by that, Michael Kay? What do you mean by that? He wasn't beloved in that clubhouse. Are you talking about from the fan base? Are you talking about with the players in that clubhouse? You know, because Juan Soto was the only guy that posted last year of, you know, the big superstars on the team. He was their best offensive player. Granted, he underperformed. He was not great to start the year, and he had a drop off in August. But his overall numbers last year were by far and away the best on the team. You know, I was thinking about this driving in, Brent. In 10, 15 years, when Juan Soto is being talked about as a Hall of Famer, his time in San Diego, it's going to be so hilarious to be like, oh, he was the Padre? Wait, what? He was a Padre? And I just don't know if people in this town and in that clubhouse truly appreciated the talent that he was and the talent that he is and what this team had in Juan Soto. Did he perform like he's performing right now with the Yankees? No, I will give you that. He did not perform up to his standard. But even his down year was still the best on the team. And he is a generational talent. So to kind of just take it for granted and just be like, this guy's not that good. This guy doesn't hustle. This guy does not play good defense. He's a cancer inside that clubhouse. Interesting how he's only a cancer with the Padres, but with the Yankees, he's like the most like beloved player. If you want to go the route of, well, he's on a contract year, Jim. Well, okay, he would have been on a contract there this year with the Padres. So it's very interesting to me hearing that from Michael Kay, because look, he talks to everybody. Everybody talks to everybody. When you're down on the field, you get little nuggets here and there, and that was a nugget. And I'm sure that's something that was talked about. How maybe Juan Soto felt like certain guys in that clubhouse didn't, really maybe want him here or appreciate him here. I don't know. They did not like how he conducted himself. Well, it seems like he's doing fine in New York with Aaron Judge. And that's also another conversation. I don't really want to get into it, but here we are. Aaron Judge is the captain of the Yankees. He is the leader of that team. Who's the captain of the Padres? Who's the leader of this team? It's interesting. I'm just saying it's interesting how San Diego, he was viewed as a guy that wasn't appreciated, or at least he was a problem in that clubhouse. And then in New York, he's like beloved by everybody, fans, teammates, media. Now he's performing better than he did last year with the Padres. So maybe that's the reason why. Maybe people view him differently because he's performing better for the Yankees than he did last year for the Padres. Okay. I get it, right? If Juan Soto had the year he's having this year, last year with the Padres, maybe it's different. Maybe he's viewed differently. I don't know. But still, it's not like he put up some crap numbers and, I don't know, didn't have a 920 OPS and lead the team in every offensive, category, because he did. It's just interesting to me, Brent, how that's being said about just San Diego, but not anywhere else with Juan Soto.
I think part of it might be, that dreaded C word that Manny doesn't like, culture with the Yankees. Because come on, it's the Yankees. The Yankees have a culture. Whether it's the pinstripes, the no facial hair and get your hair cut, and the just everything that comes with the Yankees. Maybe that's just part of it. In terms of when you said that, in 20 years or whatever, when Soto goes into the Hall of Fame, people might be like, oh wait, he was a Padre.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of the ways, it kind of reminds me of like he's going to be like the Kevin Durant of Major League Baseball, to where by the time he's done, say he doesn't sign with the Yankees and he goes someplace else, he's going to be on just so many teams by the time he's done, to where it's like, oh yeah, that's right, KD did play for the Brooklyn Nets for like 2 years, didn't he? I totally forgot about that.
One of the all-time generational talents.
Yeah, and they both have won at least one championship, and they both get maligned a little bit. So I thought that was kind of a decent comparison. And as far as Michael Kay, I think he's talking about the clubhouse, not the players, not the fans. Because if he was talking about the fans, I think he wouldn't have phrased it that he wasn't popular in the clubhouse, because that's more of like a term for the players, to where if the fans weren't happy, you just like, yeah, the fans just weren't very happy with him for some reason. It would be like, yeah, they weren't very happy in the clubhouse. The fans aren't in the clubhouse.
See, if that is truly the case, like, oh, the players in the clubhouse were the ones that just didn't like Juan Soto, or like there was friction there with them, that was a problem, and crazy to think about. I think the fans here, whatever fan views Juan Soto as not a good baseball player, or glad that he's not on the Padres anymore, I would really have to question your baseball IQ. Sorry, not sorry. Juan Soto is one of the best players in baseball. Even his down year last year was better than every single player on the team. It's a fact. Anybody in media in this town that is glad that Juan Soto's not here anymore, again, I'm questioning a lot of your baseball knowledge. I push back against Scott Miller all the time for the Juan Soto, addition by subtraction. I think people are now seeing that, oh yeah, there's really not a lot of addition by subtraction there. So I don't know. That story will live forever. The clubhouse dynamic of 2023 that gets brought up a lot. Michael Kay bringing it up today on the Rich Eisen show. And frankly, I think, the longer we get away from this, the more frustrating it will be for some people about why didn't Juan Soto work here? Because I tell you what, I'm not going to sit here and blame Juan Soto. Now he deserves a little blame, but I think there was other factors into that as well, and other players as well that definitely pushed it to where it didn't work. That's a shame. That's a shame, because those players should be performing and they're not. So we'll see. Coming up next, EA Sports College Football 25 just released a gameplay trailer today. I'll give you my review of this trailer coming up next. EA Sports College Football 25, the most highly anticipated video game, I think, ever, just released some pretty cool features. We'll talk about that coming up next. Hour Trainwreck Radio for a chance to win a pair of tickets to Janet Jackson and Nelly at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater on June 6th. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. Not only do we have one pair, we have two pairs of Janet Jackson and Nelly tickets. So Trainwreck Radio will give away one pair there, and then one other pair we'll give away sometime during the rest of the show. So make sure to keep listening for that. Today, Brent, EA Sports College Football 25, which is, I would say, the most anticipated like sports video game
No sports, yeah.
in forever. Like, I mean, name me a more anticipated sports video game off the top of your head of recent memory.
Well, there hasn't been one because there hasn't been any like supply and demand because
Madden's it.
We've never had a year without Madden. We've never had a year without an NBA game. We've never had a year without a Major League Baseball game.
Right.
But
Hockey.
Yeah, hockey. Even when they went on strike and everything, they've still had a game every year. So it's been almost 11 years since we've had college football. So,
and the marketing for this thing, I mean, it's at an all-time high. They are, I think, doing it right with how they are distributing this game and with how college athletics is now, especially college football, is how big it is and how bigger it's going to become with the expansion of the college football playoffs. And then, of course, NIL and transfer portal and everything, right? This game looks epic. They released a 5-minute gameplay trailer today. And I think everybody's worried. I talked to Matt Brown yesterday, and he said it's not Madden. It is not Madden, because Madden of late has just been
it's just the same every year.
It's the same every year. They just reuse the same stuff every single year, and they just put in some new players, and that's it. Now I haven't played Madden in a long time. I think the last Madden game that I actually really played, I honestly, Brent, I can't even remember. It's been that long.
I bought it like 2 years ago, but I didn't buy it this year because originally college football was supposed to come out last year, but they pushed it back a year because they wanted to get some more polish on it.
And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Get it right, then have it come out and be a bunch of glitches and bugs and people complaining about it. And, because that's what Madden does. They release it and there's always glitches and bugs and people complain about it. And the gameplay sucks and the graphics aren't great, I don't think. And it just doesn't feel like Madden. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right when playing it or watching gameplay. But EA Sports College Football 25, to me, Brent, this thing looks, it has the chance to be one of the best sports games ever.
Well, they brought back a bunch of features from the old game, like the home stadium factor where
crowd noises. Yeah.
If you're playing in Death Valley, and your quarterback is like a true freshman, that when you come to the line of scrimmage, the
controller is like vibrating,
and you can't will vibrate, but
routes are all messed up.
You won't be able to see the routes and everything else because it's going to be all messed up. So they brought that back, which is cool. The one thing I'm excited for, which they've done this in the NBA 2K games for years now, but they're doing like progressive like player damage. So, if you're a running back and you constantly keep taking hits to your shoulder,
you can't run a guy 40 times up the middle.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're going to highlight certain parts of your body and be like, oh, well, his shoulder is, starting to take too much damage.
This guy's got tackled 17 straight times. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be good for him.
Yeah, and it's going to make a difference on how you play. Because they said if your quarterback takes a wrong hit in his throwing arm, it's going to impact on how he plays and throws. So I think that's really cool.
I think that's cool as well. I'm used to just spamming the hell out of one play if it works nonstop.
I do that all the time.
But if this is going to change that, I think that's a cool feature. I also love the feature of home field advantage. There was a chart of best home field advantage to worst home field advantage.
Yeah, because it'll change based on your win-loss record at home. That's how it always did in other games.
And the chart was basically if you go on the road to these places, the chart said good luck. They had Michigan, they had Happy Valley, they had Death Valley, they had Alabama. So I think Clemson was up there.
Oh, yeah, they would be up there.
And one of the worst places to go that you could just, who cares, was Cal, UCLA. So, are they gonna have these games where half of the Rose Bowl is filled for UCLA?
Probably, if they're not winning, yeah.
Well, anyway, the gameplay looks amazing. This thing is seriously making me want to go about and buy a PS5. I've gotten the itch, Brent. I've got the itch. I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this.
You can find a used one.
Even if I found a used one, Brent, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And by do this, I mean, I don't know where I'm going to be putting it in my house if I bought one, because we only have 2 TVs. One's in our bedroom. That ain't happening. One's in our living room. That ain't happening. So I don't know what's going to happen if I bought a PS5 and I get College Football 25 here.
Just have to buy another TV.
Oh, yeah, it's so easy. Let me just buy another TV, put it in my office area where there's already a bed and there's not much room to start with for a TV.
It's like, oh, hey, I'm going to go do another wrap-up show, and then you'll just be in there playing football.
I just got married. So, yeah, the best thing for a brand new marriage is what? Buying a PS5. Yeah. Okay, that'll work out well. I got to figure this out. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I buy one.
Maybe you should just try and get Erin on board. So then maybe she'll just want to play too.
Maybe I don't know if she'll get on board with this one.
Well, maybe not college football, but find a game that she would enjoy to play.
Yeah, I don't know. She's not a big video game person to begin with. And I've told her before, I'm not a big video game person at all either. And she's like, oh, thank God, that's good. So maybe we just buy it. Maybe I just buy a PS5 and have it set up in studio, and we just come in early every day and we just play EA Sports College Football 25. Or I just play it here at studio. Like instead of leaving for work at 1:30, I leave for work at noon. Get here, prep a little bit, even though John says I never prep, and then play a good solid hour of college football at 25. I don't hate that idea.
Rich McGuire in YouTube chat just said it's called a man cave, Jim. You're still learning.
Yeah, Rich, I know it's called the man cave, but here's the problem, buddy.
Someone else, PS5 in the garage.
I don't have a garage.
Build
and
one.
My man cave is like a very small office with also a bed in there, which is our guest room. And I don't know where I put this TV in there because there's like no room for it.
I'll find a room. If you see my house, I'll find a room.
And maybe I'll have to have you over so we can Tetris our way through my guest room to put a TV in there with a brand new PS5 after I just got married, and also EA Sports Culture. We'll get 25.
Here you go. This is a good line to leave it on from YouTube chat. It's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission.
That is 100% right from the YouTube chat. Absolutely. Coming up next, Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, joins us from Kansas City. We'll talk to him coming up next. This update's brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone. Padres Royals start a 3-game series tonight in Kansas City. 5:10 first pitch. Old friend Michael Wacha on the mound for the Royals. Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres. In NBA action last night, the Mavericks beat the Timberwolves in Game 5, blowing them out on the road. They're now moving on to the NBA Finals, where they will take on the Boston Celtics starting on June 6th. Game 1 will be in Boston. Kyrie Irving will be facing his old team in the Celtics, along with Kristaps Porzingis facing his old team in the Mavericks. The free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help troubleshoot the likely cause of your pesky check engine light for free and help you save time and money down the road. Restrictions do apply. Get in the zone, AutoZone. All right, Jon and Jim on a Friday, hour number 2. Jon is on assignment. He'll be back on Monday. And Kevin Acee joining us right now from Kansas City. First off, Kevin, I didn't forget about you today. The thing was that Jon just got to you before I got to you. So I want to let you know that I still remembered. It's just, Jon decided to say that I don't do anything, and I apologize for that. Yeah, he lets me know. He lets me know that all the time too, Kevin. That I do nothing on the show. I'm just a bystander. I just am here, and it's funny because now Jon is gone and I'm taking over the show. But anyway, I definitely thank you, Kevin. I appreciate the kind words, and as Brent is shaking his head vigorously, I 100% outkicked my coverage by a mile.
He punched way above his weight class, Kevin.
Yeah, way above my weight class, but yes, very accommodating. We're taking our honeymoon in August. We're kind of coupling it with like another wedding, and so we already have plans for that. But she could definitely have used another week off. Me, I'm okay. I didn't do any of the planning. It was all her for the wedding.
Jon does all the work.
Yeah, exactly.
No
Jon does all the work. My wife now, Erin, she's done all the planning and all the work, and I just I'm there, which I'm not complaining about at all. Kevin, this road trip here with the Kansas City Royals, coming off of an average homestand, 3-3 homestand, they play much better on the road, and Schulte has acknowledged that, and they played much better of late, and I think we all can agree with that. But when you look at this team right now, how would you describe their season so far? Dare you say roller coaster?
I get where he was coming from. I have absolutely zero problem with the questions about it. I'm not at all saying that the questions that Mike responded to in the press conference on Wednesday, those were totally legitimate. But I understand where Mike's coming from in that they're playing whatever it is, 600 ball in May or something like that, and so the pace they're on would be that they're going to win 90 games. Now, here's the problem with that. That was also the case for periods of last year where they would play, win 2 of 3, right?
Yeah.
And I remember Bob Melvin saying, which is completely true, you win 2 of 3, you're going to the playoffs. Well, how it works is playoff teams, it's the rare playoff team that does not have at least one win streak of 7, 8 games. Now, it's early. Padres can very well do that, but they need to do that. They need to do that because there are going to be times where you don't win 2 out of 3. Because, you win 2 out of 3, that's great. Then one sweep or one stretch in which you go, 3-7, then you're in trouble. So, look, I think they're actually doing really well, except for You know, they got some starting pitching woes. I imagine Yu Darvish is going to go on the IL. If I had to bet, I would say he's going to go on the IL. They're going to be cautious with the 37-year-old pitcher. Their starting pitching has been excellent. At times has buried them, and that's bad. You even the best comeback teams, which the Padres have shown the ability to come back. You're going to do it 1 out of 10 times when you're down by 2 or 3 or 4 runs. And then, of course, and I hate to harp on it, but like it's just so overwhelming. The Tatis Machado, of course, Bogarts, but he's on the IL, that their big guys are not performing. That's their real issue. I mean, anything else we want to harp on and drill down into, and that's part of the fun of it, right?
Mhm.
The big three not doing well is just, man, it's their albatrosses.
Yeah, lots to unpack there. First off, just one more about Schulte
Mhm.
and his, optimism with everything. I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, Kevin, because there has been pushback from us here and the fans and maybe a little bit with the media, because I don't know if Schulte understands that like this team is coming off of the most disappointing season in franchise history, and there's really not a lot to like use that can signal that this team is going to turn it around. And I don't know if Schulte, I guess, understands that. And I think that's where people are kind of sitting there saying to themselves, like, hey, Mike, there's not a big track record here. Like, you aren't a guy that just managed the team to 95 plus wins. You're a brand new manager. You have to kind of show me it first, right?
Well, yes, and I understand that from the outside perspective. It's all valid. It's on one, like everything you said, gospel right there, true. Now, Mike's point would be, and I've talked to Mike about this, not to get too much into like what private conversations and stuff, but like from his perspective, yeah. So like this year's team is whatever it is, 16 of its last 27, 16 and 11 since April 29th. This team, he has said all along, was going to get better as the season went. So, like, from his perspective, the guy who has only managed this year, like, this is, what he's working with and what he shouldn't have to answer to last year's, situation. And I will say this. I think Mike and the Padres are, I don't know if the word is paying for, but like all of us have these expectations and all of us heard all the same platitudes last year, right? And so all of us are treating 2024 as something of a continuation from 2023. And that's not the place that Mike and the Padres are coming from.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be either, because he was here last year, but he wasn't the manager of the team. Right. So I get it where he's viewing it from a different lens, that this is a brand new situation and I'm brand new here, and last year, but it all kind of feels like it does go together here. Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, joining us from Kansas City here on Jon and Jim. You mentioned Yu Darvish likely, in your opinion, going on the IL. Is it just a precautionary thing because he's a 37-year-old or what?
Right. So at this point, if that does happen, I imagine that's what they're going to say. And right now it's just that, look, it's not bad enough that we put him on the IL yet. It's not something we're going to say for sure that he's going to pitch on Tuesday in Anaheim like he's scheduled to do. But my understanding, talking with people, is going to, err on the side of caution and probably looking to call someone up and fill in for him on that Tuesday. And then obviously they would have to do it again too, because you got to do the 15 days you're a pitcher. He's 37 years old, hamstring. I don't care how old you are, hamstring, you don't want to mess with that. But like right now he's back there and he's back in San Diego, he's getting treatment, and they're going to probably wait a couple days to make that ultimate decision. But my understanding is kind of leaning toward filling in for you.
Is this like just something that fans should just expect with Yu Darvish for his remainder of time with the Padres, that he's just going to be a guy that eventually will be on the IL multiple times in a season?
That's a valid question. I mean, these are like really because he's 37, because this would be his second time on there, because I guess the majority of his seasons here, there's been at least one stint. So I think that's fair to like speculate on or ask that question. I hate to do it because like that's just I believe a little unfair to a player, but the fact is, that's where we're at. And then you have to think about that, right? Like I think I wrote about it the other day in my newsletter. Like it is always going to be a concern when there's, question about Yu Darvish, right? But I didn't write that, and it will be this way for the next 4 years after this one, because he's signed through, basically he'll be 42 by the time his contract is done. So yeah, it's all legitimate.
If he makes it to 42 here in a Padres uniform. Kevin Acee here on San Diego Sports 760, Jon and Jim in Kansas City right now. The issues with their superstars, and we talked about it earlier in the show here, Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez. Those two guys with the Kansas City Royals are having fantastic years. Probably no surprise what their record is because their two superstars are performing. Here, on the other hand, it's a complete opposite. And I argued yesterday, tell me if you agree, that this team would be probably where the Kansas City Royals are if you were having seasons from Manny and Tatis like Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez are having.
I couldn't agree with you more. I just posted a story that I didn't say it outright, but it's not preposterous to think they'd have the best record in baseball. And I know that a little bit what I posted just now is like, duh, well, we knew they weren't doing well. Take a look at, there are 5 teams that you could say were built around big threes. Okay. Cubs, even a little bit bargain basement, but Cubs, for sure, Yankees, Dodgers, Phillies, Padres. And the Padres' big 3 is being out-hit by the rest of the Padres, and they're being out-hit by the other big 3s. Like, it's unbelievable how much the Yankees and the Dodgers are being carried by their big 3 and how bad the rest of their team is. So then conversely, the Padres supporting cast is the best among those 5 teams. Like, the rest of the players on the Padres are like, they're phenomenal in comparison to what those other teams are. So, like, if you had Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. and Xander Bogaerts before he got hurt, if you had them performing anywhere near, not even at their career norms, but anywhere near, like higher than a 581 OPS, I think, for Xander and a 6-something for Manny Machado, like, you're telling me they wouldn't have 35 wins? That's 5 more. I mean, you're maybe 40. Like, it's crazy how poorly they're performing, and yet they're 30-29.
And would you say that however this season ends up is, say they don't make the postseason, all right? Then would you say that the brunt of the reasons why will be because of the struggles of Manny and Tatis if they continue?
I mean, I don't see that's hard to say that wouldn't be true. I mean, it's difficult for me to say I don't, but I mean, gosh, if I'm saying now that they'd be so much better, then it follows. I mean, it's just crazy how whatever else we want to find problems with, it's actually being proved, right? We all spent some time last year harping on the lack of depth from the Padres, and I did too, but I maintained that the biggest problem was the big 4. And so if you disagreed with me, well, then take a look at this year. Again, their supporting cast could hardly be better. Yeah. But they were built around top guys performing at a certain level. And so here it is. Like, that's why they're 30-29. Like, they're in the final playoff spot, just barely, but they are right now. And they're doing it despite these 2 guys. Like, that's incredible. That's truly incredible. It might be more incredible what they're doing now, and certainly if they can continue. See, your big problem is, like, they're always saying it's a long season. Manny and Toddy have time to pick it up. You are 100% right. Guess what? So did Jurickson Profar, Jake Cronenworth, and all these other guys that are doing well. They have time to maybe perform down to their career norms too.
Exactly.
So that's very scary. And I'm huge. I feel like I got to say it every time. Huge Jake Cronenworth guy. I think that even if he had a 700 OPS, that he adds value to this team because of the type of player he is. He's a winning player. Jurickson Profar, man, I don't care what you are. I think anybody knows, I cover the team. I don't have a dog in the fight, right? But I if you're not rooting for Jurickson Profar to be at the All-Star game in Texas where his career began, then you don't have a heart. I think these are incredible stories, and also I just think these are good players. I mean, they are, but let's be honest about it. This team is not supposed to be being carried by those 2 guys.
Yeah, we all love Jurickson Profar, but to say that Jurickson Profar is their best offensive player through 59 games, you would think this team is like 10 games under 500, which is crazy to think about. There was interesting quotes from Tatis I believe it. I don't know exactly what day it was, but it was recently. I think it might be the Yankee series. I was completely out of the loop because of the wedding, but
Oh, yeah.
he exactly. He hits the home run. I think it was I forget what day it was. And after the game, he's talking about his swagginess and his like swagger. And I would tell me if you agree. I feel like he might be too emotional because his emotions, he wears it on his sleeve so much. And you can tell when he's in a slump and you can tell when he's not in a slump. Do you agree with that statement?
I do, and that's coming from someone who really works hard to not read into that, right? Like to not read into that with a lot of people or with teams, because I know from experience that a losing team looks flat and a winning team looks, hyped, right? And a guy who's going well is smiling, but with Tatis above all, man, almost maybe anyone I've covered. You can tell when he's going bad, and the body language at virtually every moment. And then when he's not, I think he's worked hard on it. If you notice some subtle differences between now and say 2021, when he's trying to really pump up teammates or celebrate with them, even when he's not going well, I do think he's worked hard at it. But remember, he's still 25, still just 25 years old. And look, we got to take the good with the bad sometimes with these guys, right? Like that's what gets him, makes him good. And then, sometimes maybe it doesn't look so great when he's not going well. But I do agree with you on that. I cautiously agree with you on that.
What's the update on Xander? I know you had it in your story, but any new updates with him?
It's not really. It's not so much an update as like a confirmation, right? Like, and this isn't any knock on the Padres doctors. Anybody, and especially if Xander's profile stature is going to get another opinion, and so he did with one of the renowned specialists, Dr. Neil Trash in Los Angeles, and it was a confirmation of what the Padres doctors had found. And that is that no surgery. I guess look, if he was a professional baseball player, could you get something done on it, some pins or something like that? But that the healing will be just fine without surgery, and that Xander's timeline is still faster than this, but all the doctors' timeline is we're still looking at another 2 months or whatever, a little less than 2 months at least. So we could be talking about August, could be talking about mid-August, September before Xander's back.
And I don't know if this is fair to say about Xander, but the way that he played this year and him missing this time, is it really going to hurt the team, Kevin? I mean, because you have guys like Donovan Solano and David Peralta, they're doing much better than what Xander was doing. I think a depth issue is the biggest thing, but I mean,
Jim, you should have John leave, because I'm agreeing with all of your points today. Like I'm saying that you have valid. Here's what I will say.
I have some value, Kevin. I have some value.
I'm going to pass this on to John. I'm just saying. But like I'm going to agree with you. Now, that said, like the future value or the possible value of Xander, right? Like, why did you pay him, and why are you a fan if you're not at least hoping that this $25 million man was going to come around, right? And remember, he had that great second half. That was a Xander Bogaerts second half. I don't want to know if it was great, but it was a really good second half. So you have to believe that. So I don't think you can actually say, oh, they're not going to miss it. But yes, based on current production, based on what Solano's doing. That said, and I think Donovan Solano, gosh, that's amazing pickup, the Padres, for $794,000. Just incredible. That said, 36 years old, and does it continue to happen all year with him playing almost every day? So it's like, yes, Jim, yes, you can't say that you're like it's this huge loss, right? But it is. It's a big loss.
Yeah, because he's been paid all the money, and that's
he's getting paid all the money. And what are other guys going to do behind him? I mean, again, like Donovan Solano, that's just really impressive. But like, was everyone in baseball wrong? Is there a reason he's making $794,000? Like, how long will he continue to be this guy? And with Xander, and again, I understand that what our eyes told us here the first couple months, but remember, he's on he had heated up a little bit, had started to find a little bit of the power. And Donovan Solano probably, he ran into a homer the other day, but that's probably not going to happen either. So I do think it's a big loss.
When this thing on a positive here, Kevin, Jeremiah Estrada, I mean, he is becoming such a fan favorite already just because of what he's doing on the field. And I feel like every time you hear him speak, He's so insightful and like joyous and just wants to talk about baseball and his pitches. And like, I mean, is this the situation, Kevin, where you think the Padres got a little lucky here and this is a Jeremiah Estrada production here? Or is this, hey, AJ found a diamond in the rough and kind of knew what he was doing?
I'll give AJ Preller and Ben Fritz and Ruben Niebla some credit. Absolutely. I don't know that they knew he had a splitter that he had developed.
Right.
I'm not sure the Cubs did, or it was their pitching coordinator who worked with him on it. But that's a big deal. That fastball is really good, but you've got that as your secondary pitch. And Ruben Niebla saw that thing and said, "Oh yeah, no, that's the second pitch right there. That's a splitter." And I agree with you on what you said. He's just full of joy, just happy. I don't want to say happy to be here because that has a connotation, but no, he's just happy to be here and wants to be awesome. And he shows his emotion, and he's just a kid. Just the fact that he was just so pumped that he got whatever it is. I mean, I'm 53 years old, but I can't play that. The new video games that you need 7 fingers on each hand to be able to play them. Right. But this guy's a huge MLB The Show guy, and he got this boost on it, and he was just, man, I feel like he'd be playing for free if that's if he can just get that 99 on MLB The Show. And he's just so stoked. And he showed me his grip a couple of weeks ago, just readily, oh no, let me show it to you. And on the splitter, and he's just that guy. Just a lot of fun is what he is.
And from a strategy standpoint, Kevin, this gives Mike Schilt the opportunity to not have to use Robert Suarez for multiple innings now because of Jeremiah Estrada, right?
And it's a real trickle down effect. Always has been in the bullpen, and they talked about it. Look, and if you think about it, Robert Suarez was not the closer last year. Adrian Morejon was up and down and injured last year, and so everyone else was in another organization or not in the United States. And so this is an entirely new bullpen. And they talked about it while things were going rough or up and down there that first month of we got to find roles. And we're learning these guys. By the way, new manager also, right? And then there's this trickle down. So yes, to your point about Robert Suarez, and then also Wandy Peralta can now maybe be a 7th inning guy. Of course, he'll work in the 8th as well. To quote Mike Schilt, when it's his lane, right? Be that handedness or a certain kind of situation or a batter that's up that Wandy Peralta might fit better. But yes, and then so that guy's there, and then Yuki Matsui, maybe he's still sometime in the 8th, but also the 7th or the 6th, and so it lines up right after a day like today. And let's say that Dylan Cease can only go 6. You've got all of your guys to put in at exactly the moment that you want to. Doesn't mean it's going to work out, but you now have 4 guys to fill 3 innings or even 3 guys to fill the 2 because you know where Suarez is going to go, and you're going to line them up against the guys that you want to line them up against. That is exactly how you want a bullpen to be.
Kevin, enjoy Kansas City. We'll talk to you next week, and make sure you tell John that I'm not useless after all, okay?
I think he knows it deep down, man.
I think he does. He's just afraid to admit it. Kevin, we'll talk to you next week, man. Thanks,
care.
buddy. All right, the wrap coming up next. Also, we'll react to Kevin's interview coming up next on Jon and Jim. All right, coming up next, the wrap. We'll also react to Kevin Acee's interview with us. Coming up next on Jon and Jim. All right, this update is brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone. Padres Royals start a 3-game series tonight in Kansas City. 5:10 first pitch. Waka, old friend on the mound for the Royals against Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres. And the NBA Finals are set as the Mavericks beat the Timberwolves last night in Game 5 on the road to punch their ticket to the NBA Finals, where they will take on the Boston Celtics starting on June 6th in Boston. The free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help troubleshoot the likely cause of your pesky check engine light for free and help you save time and money down the road. Restrictions do apply. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Here on Jon and Jim on a Friday. Jon will be returning to the show on Monday. We have a wrap-up show later tonight, so make sure to tune in for that solo wrap-up show. So you're welcome. Keep up with San Diego Sports 760 anytime, anywhere, whether you're stepping out of the car or settling in at home. Just ask your Google or Alexa smart speaker to play AM 760 or stream it live through the iHeart app. It's never been easier to stay connected with your favorite shows like this one, Brent. San Diego Sports 760 goes where you go. So the Yu Darvish thing is interesting. Little news that Kevin dropped on us. He didn't officially say it's happening, but in his opinion, he says it's happening. And I think that's kind of code word for it's not official yet. So I'm not going to give it 100% here, but it's more likely than not going to happen.
Yeah, but that shouldn't really surprise us, though. That's kind of, being overly cautious with their arms has kind of been their thing this year. Remember, Joe's was, it's no big deal. We're just being overly cautious. So we're just going to put them on there. And, it's like you kind of said to Kevin, this is unfortunately just kind of, part of a Yu Darvish season now at his point in his career and just where his body is to where, he's going to have to take a few stints on the IL during the course of the year. And, it is what it is, but there's a difference between them putting him on there just to be, lean on the safe side opposed to, putting him in there because, he can't throw because it's like something serious.
they're going to have to figure out a way to really manage him for the rest of his career here and not try to run him in the ground. And they're going to have to.
They need to get like Kawhi a consulting fee.
I'm serious.
Bring load management to the Padres rotation.
They need to figure out a plan where they just have to like skip the starters too, because it's going to be a situation where you're going to see him go on the IL a lot for little nicks and bruises and stuff here and there. And he's not 24 years old anymore, 25, he's almost 40. And that's an issue because they need you, Darvish. And if a couple, missed starts turns into 5 great starts, like what happened when he came off the IL, well, then they're going to have to maybe do that from now on, where they give him more rest. Instead of having 28, 29, potentially 30 starts, they're going to have to cut that down to like 24, 25 to maximize the rest of Yu Darvish's career. Because you can't have him continuously go on the IL for like a neck problem and then a hamstring problem and then like maybe, knock on wood, like for anything else.
Well, you can't with their depth.
No, you can't.
If we were a deeper bullpen or just a deeper rotation, then yeah, we could afford to do that.
More Randy Vasquez is not a good thing. It just isn't. Brent, let's get to it.
Who do you have winning the NBA Finals, Dallas or Boston?
I'll take the Mavericks here.
That's what I'm taking.
I think Boston has had way too of an easy time to the finals. I'm not saying that the Mavericks have had this like tough test either, but they're also, I think, banged up. Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum I think is dealing with a hip thing.
Porzingis is
iffy. I just view Dallas kind of in the same light as I viewed the Cavs team that came back from 3-1 versus the Warriors, where they have 2 guys that you can't stop. And when they do stuff like they did last night, you can't win. Like it's as simple as if Kyrie and Luka are going to go off for 35 plus, good luck. Like, I don't know if Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are like Luka and Kyrie. If you're talking about the duo stars, who would you take? I would take Luka, Kyrie over Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum.
I think Dallas is, Boston's the number 1 seed, but they didn't really look dominant in the East. And it's not like they had a really, tough road. They, they took care of Cleveland, but a lot of those games are closer than they should have been, considering it was Cleveland.
Pacers.
The Pacers, a lot of those games, they swept them, but a lot of those games were closer than they should have been. The Pacers pretty much pissed away game 1. They had that, and then they blew it in like the final, minute. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's one of those. It depends which Boston team shows up. It's like I kind of brought up yesterday.
A lot of rest.
During the regular season, there was the Boston team that won like 4 or 5 games by like 50 points, and they were just dominating. But then on the flip side, that same Boston team lost like 3 or 4 games by almost 40 points during the year. So it just kind of, it depends which Boston team shows up. But Luka's on fire right now, and I'm not going to go against an on fire Luka. So I'm also going Dallas.
This is such a big series for like the legacy talk, right?
Well, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good finals this year. It doesn't seem like it's going to be lopsided. I think it should be good. I think it'll at least go 6.
Who's your finals MVP? Bonus question here.
Kyrie.
Me too. I think Kyrie's he has no pressure. He's motivated by facing the Boston Celtics.
The championship they won when they beat your Warriors. LeBron, yeah, I know. Stab her in the back. LeBron gets all the credit and everything
Kyrie
for
hit
it.
The shot.
But Kyrie hit the shot. Kyrie hit most of the big shots in that series.
The Game 5 performances for both of those players were beyond epic. Beyond epic. We are run up against it. Let's get through this, Brent. What's next question?
Which feature of EA Sports College Football 25 are you most excited for?
Everything. Next question.
Who would you bet on to turn it around for the Padres, Manny or Tatis?
I'm gonna say Tatis because I think Manny's still dealing with his injury, his elbow injury, and I think that's really hindering him more than he's letting on to believe. When you have 5 home runs now through basically 60 games of the season, there's a little bit of a problem there. So I will go Tatis.
I'm going Manny. It's easier to rehab your elbow than it is to rehab your mind, and I think it's
That's a good one.
I think it's in Tatis's head. I think he's just got stuff to work out.
Next question.
And lastly, are the Lakers making a mistake if they hire JJ Redick to be their head coach?
Let me answer that real quickly for you. Yes. What? Just hire JJ Redick and then draft Bronny James. That will go over well in LA with LeBron, who's a 40-year-old. Give me a break. I mean, if JJ Redick got a job as the Detroit Pistons head coach for the first time, but as the Lakers head coach, he'll last no more than 2 years because LeBron is
I don't think he'll even
not going to be there for more than 2 years.
I don't think he'll even last that long because I think, yeah, sure, they're BFFs now, but the second, he calls a play that LeBron doesn't like or LeBron takes a shot that he doesn't like, they're going to butt heads.
Dude,
and they're not going to be friends anymore.
Hey, but at least they have a cool podcast. Call right now, 877-767-4760. We need 2 contestants for Trainwreck Radio. Yes, we still do Trainwreck Radio even when John's not here. 877-767
win for Jim today.
4760. Your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Janet Jackson and Nelly at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater on June 6th. If you want those tickets and you want to play Trainwreck Radio, call 877-767-4760. Trainwreck Radio coming up next. All right, coming up next, Trainwreck Radio. We need one more contestant. Our last contestant just dropped. 877-767-4760. Your chance to win a couple pair of tickets to see Janet Jackson and Nelly at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. We need one more contestant to play Trainwreck Radio. 877-767-4760. Trainwreck Radio coming up next. So I think we talked about this last segment. The NBA Finals to me are very intriguing. You know, I've been checked out mostly from the NBA playoffs, but I'm gonna be locked in for this series because there's a lot of storylines. Like I'm a big storyline guy, and unless it's the Warriors, I don't care. But with this series, like there's a lot of juice there because you have superstars everywhere. You're gonna see some crazy highlights, and Boston is going to be insane for game one with Kyrie because of everything that happened there with the departure of Kyrie, what he said to about Boston. It was interesting. Worldwide Wob last night on Twitter, Brent. The time that Kyrie stepped on the Boston logo when he was a part of the Brooklyn Nets, there's a screen, there's like a picture of him stepping on the logo, and behind him at like the scores table or whatever, and they have those like panels that like display like either what game's coming up next for
whatever
ABC.
ABC's promoting. Right. Yeah.
The picture is of Kyrie stepping on the Boston logo in the center of the court, and the team that's behind him on the ticker or the thing, whatever, is the Mavericks. I was like, whoa, okay, some foreshadowing there. I thought that was kind of that's one of those things where you're like, whoa.
Well, it's not only Kyrie's return to Boston, but Dallas traded Porzingis to the Celtics.
But is he going to be healthy for the series though? Because if he was fully healthy, then
I think it's the case of if this was the Eastern Conference Finals, he wouldn't play, but it's the finals, so I think he's going to at least give it a go. I don't think that he'll just sit back and not try and play just because it's the finals, especially say he doesn't play game one or like even game 2, but then they go down 0-2, he's playing in game 3.
But is he going to be 100%? Probably not.
No, but he'll at least give it a try because he has to.
See, that's where I view it as, if one of your key star players isn't 100%.
Well, Luka isn't 100% either.
He's never 100%.
Well, yeah, I know. That's kind of my point.
But
At this point of the year, nobody's 100%.
He's still putting up 35 a night. Same thing with Kyrie.
Yeah, I know. But then, when he was on Inside the NBA, you see that big ass bag of ice he had on his knee.
That's true. That's true. I know. But yeah,
I'm rooting for Dallas too, because I forgot that their vice president of basketball operations is Michael Finley, who was like one of my favorite Wisconsin Badgers of all time.
Oh, really?
He was like the OG Badger that like was good at basketball. Like, dude,
the only Badger.
Dude, like Van Gundy was his coach. I think it was Stu. It wasn't Jeff, but yeah, Stu. He was the coach of the Badgers for a little bit.
Wow, I didn't know that. My Badger history knowledge is not
I love Michael Finley. He's one of my favorite Badgers, and until I saw him presenting Dallas with the conference championship trophy, I was like, oh yeah,
Michael Finley,
because he played for them, but I forgot that he was their vice president.
Well, what's great about this series is not only the storylines like we just talked about, but it's a talking head dream of a matchup, because you have two, I wouldn't say mega superstars. Like I don't think they transcend like LeBron and Steph, but I think they're up there. I mean, Luka is probably the biggest star here in the finals.
In a way, you're right. It won't be LeBron and Steph, but you have to figure it. Luka is LeBron in Europe.
In Europe, yeah, he's the guy that.
So like in the States, they won't compare, but just worldwide, I think it's going to cancel each other out, just because, like I said, Luka right now is the LeBron of pretty much of Europe and of all the international players.
Because if Luka wins here, if the Mavericks win, Kyrie wins his second. There's not a lot here for Kyrie because he's got the title, he's got the big shot. He's kind of, I feel like, playing with no pressure, and he's probably playing with like a lot of aggression because of it's the Celtics and of everything that happened there. I know that he said during the postgame the other day, it's just whoever, but that place is going to be insane.
Also,
on June 6th
for Kyrie, in the back of his head would just be almost a vindication, because remember, it was like a year and a half ago, there's people, he's never going to play again because he put that stupid tweet out about that movie.
I think I was one of them.
You were.
That was like,
I wasn't going to name you out, but yeah, you weren't the only one. There's a lot of people that didn't think that,
but good for him.
They thought he was done.
Good for him.
He did what he needed to do. He turned it around, and so I think in a way it would be a nice, I guess maybe redemption story if he could just come back from that when nobody thought he would.
And honestly, like Kyrie, this is not a shut up and dribble type of thing here, but this is a little bit of like, just don't be an a-hole and, read the room, like understand that those things aren't acceptable to do. And I think Kyrie, for whatever it was it the trade to was it the trade from Boston? Was it the trade to Dallas? Good for him. And it's fun to watch him play. It's not fun to watch him play when he's playing against your favorite team, but he is the best tough shot maker in the league by far. And you could argue he has the best handles in the league.
Oh, he does.
He's a guy that is a pure scorer. And him and Luka, at first, I thought it wasn't going to work. And it looked like for a little bit there, it wasn't going to work. But they figured it out. And whatever they're doing, it's working. And I think that Boston, while they might be a overall better team, they don't have the better players, like the better top players. Luka and Kyrie are better, in my opinion, than Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
I think part of what makes Luka and Kyrie actually work is they play together.
Like they play on the same team, Brent?
Well, no,
they both are playing. They both play on the Mavericks.
When Kyrie went to form, super team in Brooklyn
with
Katie and Harden, they played maybe 12 games together and like almost
Well, the Harden
2
dynamic
years.
definitely didn't work.
Well, no, I'm just saying though that they never gelled because they never played together, because it'd always be, oh, KD's sitting today, so it's just you two, or one of the other one is Harden's sitting today. So they never were all on the floor until it was like playoff time. And then it was like, well, you guys aren't going to develop chemistry, in the first round of the playoffs. You should have done that in November.
Yeah, I think this series, the Celtics win, they finally got over the hump. And then on the flip side, with the Mavericks, they lose the series. It will be, when can Luka get that? It will be for the rest of his career until he wins it. Can Luka, win that title and ascend to like top level superstar, right? Because he's a superstar, but he's not at that top level yet without a title. Same thing with here. The Mavericks win. Luka's now gone to that next level. And you're looking at the Boston side, same questions. That team, that core, are they ever going to win it, or is it time to blow it up? So there's like a lot of things here for whoever wins and whoever loses.
There's lots of rumors too that if Boston doesn't win, that they're going to fire their head coach again.
All right. Call right now. Caller number 6, 877-767-4760. Caller number 6. You won a pair of tickets to see Janet Jackson and Nelly at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater on June 6th. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. Caller number 6 right now, 877-767-4760. You want a pair of tickets to see Janet Jackson and Nelly. All right, coming up next, we'll get you ready for Padres and Royals. Also, if you missed it earlier today on the station, great interview with Jeremiah Estrada. He is becoming one of my favorite Padres on this team right now. You'll hear from him coming up next hour right here on Jon and Jim. All right, this update is brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone. Padres Royals, moments away from first pitch in Kansas City. Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres against old friend Michael Wacha for the Royals. In the NBA, the finals are set as the Mavericks beat the Timberwolves last night in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. To move on to the NBA Finals, where it will be the Boston Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks starting on June 6th, Game 1 in Boston. The free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help you troubleshoot the likely cause of your pesky check engine light for free and help you save time and money down the road. Restrictions do apply. Get in the zone. AutoZone. All right, final hour here on Jon and Jim. Jon will be returning on Monday, and the Padres are moments away from first pitch in Kansas City, where they will take on the Royals for a 3-game series. And the Royals are, I would say, even though they're second in their own division, I would put them up there as one of the best teams in baseball. They have really good starting pitching, and they have 2 guys on their team, they're superstars, that are actually performing. Unlike here in San Diego. It's kind of funny what happens when you have 2 superstars perform with also like a pretty decent roster around you. This is not the Kansas City. This is not the LA Angels of a couple years ago with Ohtani and Trout type of situation that I'm talking about. Because the Royals have a pretty decent roster around Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez. They just enhance everything by playing well. You know, the Padres are in the same situation. They have a pretty damn good roster around Tatis and Manny. And if those 2 guys were performing like Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez that, you know, we're going to see here in a bit, it would enhance everything around them. So if anybody is sitting here saying, well, it would be a little better if Manny and Toddy were performing, I give you example Exhibit A in the Kansas City Royals, who have 2 superstars performing, and they are 13 games over 500. The Padres are 1. I don't think they would be a couple games over. I think they would be closer to 10 games over. I think they'd be closer to the Royals than where they are now if Manny and Tatis were doing what Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez are doing for the Kansas City Royals.
But did you know they've won 7 out of 9 series?
Oh, that's right. My bad. Sorry. Everything's fine. I wonder at the end of the year, Brent, if Schilte's going to have whatever happens, that he's going to
we won
how many series they won.
39 out of 78 series this year.
we won like 38 series.
If you do that all year, you're going to be 1 game above 500. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, if we win 2 out of every 3 games, it'll be great. We win 6 out of every 10 games, will be awesome.
It's like I said yesterday. Yeah, and if I had wheels, I'd be a wagon.
Yeah, Schilte, you guys have not won 6 out of 10. You are in a stretch of games in the last 10 that you're 500. So yeah, be better. Pretty simple. Be better, play better, demand better, want better. All of it. Don't be content, Schilte. I hope you're not. I don't think you are, but you portray yourself as you are. So if you guys lose this series, let's not sugarcoat this thing, okay? Now, if you win it, then yeah, you deserve all the praise. And guess what? You're going to get it. First people that will give it to you are right here on Jon and Jim. Don't worry. We'll praise you. We'll praise you if you win this series, Schilte. We'll say good things about your team. All right? Just like we said good things about your team when they beat the Atlanta Braves 3 out of 4. Just like we said good things about your team when you guys took 2 straight series from the Dodgers. Just like we said good things about your team when they beat the Brewers on the road. Just like we said good things about when you beat the Cubbies on the road. You know? He seems to not understand that we do say good things about this team when they win series.
No, they don't. Nobody does.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Our bad. My bad.
You know, that's what he's complaining about the other day was, how come when we play a clean game, no one's like, yeah, you guys really played a good, clean game today?
Because we do.
It's like you're just expected to.
Like, that's kind of what you're paid to do.
Well, it's like that old Chris Rock fit about, people that go, well, I take care of my kids. Like, well, you're supposed to.
They're your kids.
It's like, oh, we played a really clean. You're supposed to play a clean, air-free game. You should get a pat on the back for doing something you're supposed to do.
Exactly. Now, are you supposed to win? No. It's you're not going out there and we're saying you're supposed to win these games, even though I think sometimes we may say that if you're facing like the Rockies and stuff.
Well, sometimes they are supposed to win.
Sometimes they are. You're right. Sometimes they are. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And maybe if you want to put the last game versus the Marlins in that category, go right ahead. But, have a good series, Schulte. Have this team play some good baseball. Guess what's going to happen on Monday and Sunday night for the wrap-up show? We're going to praise you. So also, when you do get praise for it, don't have any backlash if you get criticized for then losing some games. Where was the praise when we won? It was there. Okay. It was there. I do think, Brent, going forward here, it's just going to be the roller coaster of a season from Schulte. Not from the team, but just from Schulte alone.
It'll be a roller coaster of emotions.
Roller coaster of emotions, Just when they win, it's great. When they lose, a little bit of a sore loser aspect. And I get it. I'm a sore loser too. If my teams lose, I don't want to talk to anybody. I understand. But I'm also like a fan. You're like the manager of the team. And you're expected to, I guess tell it like it is. Or at least I hope you tell it like it is.
It's one of those things where it's just, if a pitcher has a bad day and there's like, I'll just throw you out there just because we were talking about, if you has a bad day and Kevin's like, you didn't have it today,
But that slider in that fourth inning was really good.
What do you mean he didn't have it? And
I know.
Just like they're just basic questions that you should expect questions like this. Like, he gets mad whenever they lose a game, and then the media will ask him a question about it. But it's just something that should be expected. It's not that they're ragging on you just because you lost a game, but don't get mad when they just bring up the fact that you lost just to talk about it. It's their job.
I almost say, like, I want the Padres to do well, root for this team to do well. I'm not sitting here saying I want them to lose. I'm sitting here almost every night like, please win this game, because I just don't want to deal with another Schulte stupid press conference again. I want them to win because it's better for us. It's better for everybody else, the fan base, just all of San Diego. Like, it's awesome. And I'm sitting here like, oh no, if they lose, it's a problem because Schulte's going to probably blow up at somebody in the press conference for asking a perfectly legitimate question. Jeremiah Estrada has been one of the brightest spots on this Padres team this year so far. He has turned into, Brent, and I'm not just saying this because we're going to hear from him in a bit here. Like, he's one of my favorite interviews already on the Padres. Already. He's one of my favorite interviews on the Padres. And if you haven't heard Jeremiah Estrada speak, you're going to love him.
Do you know who he reminds me of?
No clue.
The Franimal.
With the same enthusiasm.
Yeah, enthusiasm. He's
like,
a
you
fan
just
favorite.
just
the
so
fans
like
just love him.
Energetic.
Yep.
Like, you just feel
Gave
good.
Great interviews.
Right. You feel good when you hear him speak. I like that. I like that comparison. Well, Jeremiah Estrada, he was on the station earlier today. And again, if you haven't heard Jeremiah Estrada, you are in for a treat. This was him with Darren earlier today, talking about his
special cameo by Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd is a special cameo as well. Here's Jeremiah Estrada with Darren.
Jeremiah, this is Darren Smith. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us.
Hey, Darren, how you doing? Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. How's it going, man? You look like you're having a ton of fun. It's been great watching you play. Everything seems to be going great for you, huh?
Man, it's been huge. It's been really fun. Been having a blast, and nothing better than being in San Diego playing some baseball.
I would imagine, man. It looks great. You've become an instant crowd favorite, and you've had a ton of success, and you're doing things that nobody has ever seen done before in baseball as well. Jeremiah, people ask all the time. They're asking me, and they're posting on social media. They keep asking, how did the Cubs let this guy go? How did the Cubs let this guy go? What were they thinking letting a talent like Jeremiah Estrada? What were they thinking? I would love to just ask you, because you were there with the Cubs. You thanked the Cubs very much for the opportunities that they gave you. Tell us a little bit. How did you end up here? What is your version of the story?
I'm not quite sure. I know first and foremost, I'm absolutely grateful for the Cubs organization. They drafted me first right out of high school, and I practically I grew up with them, and I have nothing but love for the organization and for the staff there. And, it was a blast. But, some things have to change. And, at the end of the day, it is a business, and I feel like they made a business decision, and it had me led to here, and whatever decision they made, I just said thank you. And, moving forward, I look back, I should always remember that they were the first ones, to pick me up first. And I do have love for them. But at the end of the day, new beginnings here, and new team, new vibes, and can't complain. Just happy to be here with this new organization and with a new set of group of guys, and I feel absolutely blessed.
You took the time, I noticed, in November to thank the Cubs publicly. You thanked them on social media. I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about there's a lot of people who would be resentful, right? Like they might be angry about that situation, but you handled that with such class. Where did that come from?
Sorry, if you could repeat that again.
No problem. You thanked them very publicly on social media. A lot of people might be angry at that situation, Jeremiah. I just wonder what the motivation was to thank the Cubs so publicly like you did on social media.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to have you repeat that one more time. It's like cutting off.
No problem, man. I can imagine it's probably pretty loud there. You thanked the Cubs publicly on social media. How come?
Oh, I thanked them?
Yeah.
Oh, with the fans. Which one was it? I'm so confused. Is it the one where? Oh, well, he said with the Cubs.
Right.
Sorry. No, are you saying I thank the Cub fans or I thank the Padres fans?
No, you know what? We'll skip that one. I was just saying that you thanked them very publicly on social media, and I just wonder, a lot of people might be angry about that situation, but it wasn't the case for you.
Like I said, they were the first ones to pick me up. Of course, I'm gonna thank them. I made my debut with them, and there's nothing else to be grateful for them.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was saying, there's new beginnings, and people are unhappy with it. I got my life to live. They got their life to live. They can say what they want.
Well, when you found out it was the Padres, being a guy who grew up where you grew up, Palm Desert, Indio, tell us what it was like when you found out your new team was the Padres.
Oh, it was amazing. When I had received that phone call from the Cubs telling me that I got picked up from the Padres, I tried as hard as I can to not celebrate with them on the phone still. So I was like, oh, okay, thank you guys, bye, and whatever, hung up. And then right there was just a pure excitement, because there's nothing more than to be able to tell yourself or to tell your family that you're going to play baseball only an hour away from home.
And were the Padres a team that you watched a lot, growing up where you grew up? Is there some fandom from family members, especially given how close, the family is now to coming and watching you regularly?
Oh, man. This is one thing that I know that will disappoint the San Diego fans and all, but my entire family all grew up as Dodger fans. And, yeah, it's unfortunate, boo Dodgers, but I'm all about Padres now, and now I'm looking forward to showing my family that we're gonna catch the wins against their old team, and whether they like it or not.
I'm betting they do like it. Jeremiah Estrada joining us on San Diego Sports 760. I know we were talking a little bit earlier about MLB The Show. I've loved your reaction to your player rating, going from a 57 to a 99. As a big-time gamer, I just want to know what that experience has been like for you.
Oh, it's been absolutely amazing. I can't tell you, after each outing, at most, me and my group of friends, and it's like usually my three friends that I always play with, which is Pache and Jacob Calderon. These guys are like best friends that I play with absolutely every single day. And every day, if I pitch good, we're like, all right, let's see if your car got ranked up. Let's see if your car got ranked up every single day. That's been like the mission. And it's kind of like most people play for baseball for certain beliefs in what they want to believe in or play for the game. But like every time like I play baseball, of course I do it for like my family and the love of the game. but also to get my damn rank up from 56 to at least somewhere up there to 70s. I mean, I am literally a common player right now, and I'm just happy to know that if I keep doing what I can do, I could probably get my rank up. But we'll see on this next update. We'll see where they put me at.
Where do you think you should be?
Well, right now, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, of course, it's I don't know how they base off the games. I've seen like how they kind of. I mean, they had Tatis like at rating of like 86 in the beginning of the year, and I was like, wait, what? There's, sometimes it's just at the end of the day, it's a video game. They're not going to be absolutely perfect with their stats and the rankings and all. But man, I mean, I don't know. I mean, with how things have been going on, I mean, at least somewhere in the 70s, silver, something special. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they listen. They're in San Diego. The game is produced in Sereno Valley, so I'm sure they will be very interested to hear how you think you should be rated. But you say it's just a game. And Jeremiah, I do, we know that there are players, Spencer Strider is one of them with the Atlanta Braves, unfortunately not healthy, who said that he plays the game, he plays against the opponent that he's facing next because it's a little bit of scouting. And I wonder if it just is purely entertainment with MLB The Show or if there's something valuable for you and other pitchers.
Oh, no, I've never really took it that much. I mean, they could have some stats on there on what people can hit and not hit, but like, I've never gone that far. If there's anything specific that I've brought into the real world, what it involves with MLB The Show is wherever we are located, like as of right now, we are in Kansas City. And if I'm playing Diamond Dynasty mode or playing any friends, I always put like the field wherever I'm at. So if we're home, I'm putting San Diego the whole week. If we're in Atlanta, I'm putting the Atlanta Braves. That's the only thing I usually do.
Tell us about what role the Padres have played in the kind of performances that we've seen. You had an off season here. You have a new pitching coach. You've talked a little bit about new pitches that you're using in 2024. Tell us a little bit about the end of last season to this year and what the difference is with Jeremiah Estrada.
Yeah. So of last year, of course, the beginning of last year, I just had a fastball slider. The slider, the Cubs had showed me, it was like a sweeper. And I've always had a changeup, but they were kind of focused on just me really wanting to focus on the fastball slider. So I stood with, oh my goodness, sorry. I see Paul Rudd right now. Sorry. Kind of
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd's right here in front of me.
No way.
Paul Rudd, Mr. Ant-Man. Yeah, he's right here, right in front of me. I'm about to say hi, but
go tell him you got a 99 and MLB The Show.
But yeah, so that happened, and then throughout the year, in the middle of the year, they were trying to teach me a splitter, and I was all for it. I like to be coached. I like to listen. I like to feel like whatever advice I could be given, it will work. And unfortunately, just things didn't turn out well with the splitter, and went on to AAA, and then went on to just not being able to work it out there too. And they were teaching me a new slider, and I was just kind of just like all over the place, trying to figure things out. And I was a bit disappointed with the fact that I couldn't throw my own changeup, but I had to throw the splitter that they were showing me. But I can't really tell people no. I am still a rookie. So, and I'm all for it. But, that happened. And then I went to Arizona to work on some things, and I tried to teach myself a faster slider and a better changeup. And I tried going back to my own changeup, and it just wasn't working. I tried doing their splitters. It wasn't working. And just any Aussies was like, for a changeup grip, was not working at all. And I always mention the part where like there's a thing about where I was always looking at like, Steven Strasburg and all these guys with just natural, just good changeups. And of course, growing up as a Dodger fan, Eric Gagne was a big guy. I mean, I didn't really watch it. My dad would talk about it a lot. And I was like, let me try his Vulcan pitch or whatever. And it did not work. Like nothing whatsoever worked. And then as I was watching that, I was just trying to experiment and just because with the game of baseball, it's all about feel. And the way I grip my pitch now, which is the chitter, it's like a circle, Vulcan, splitter type of grip. It felt comfortable. And it's all about feel. And I got comfortable with it. I was able to play catch with it, and it worked well. And as I got outrighted on my birthday, Ruben and of course AJ, I received the phone calls with them after I got picked up by the Padres. I went out to San Diego, and they were working like, hey, we're going to work on that slider. We think we could get you a better slider. Change up, those are the pitches you taught yourself. Those are the pitches you're going to keep. Those are perfect. We're just going to teach you the slider. So then they taught me the slider in spring training and then the off season. And that's about it. That's where we're at from now.
Yeah. And it's working, isn't it?
Oh, most definitely. It's fun. It's fun. That's the part about it too. It's fun throwing the pitch that it feels good when you're able to work on a pitch that you took time on. And literally I would go to bed with that grip all off season. Like I wanted to really get comfortable with that pitch. I really wanted to have the good feeling of it. And I mean, even when I wasn't allowed to throw, I would sit there. And if I'm at a hotel room, I would grip the baseball and throw it. And even my girlfriend gets mad. She's like, "Why are you carrying the baseball all the time? Why do you have a baseball?" I'm like, "I gotta get ready. I need to have feel."
Do you as a strikeout pitcher, I probably know the answer to this. Is it better to watch a guy go down swinging? I mean, is it equally as enjoyable if they stand there and they go down looking?
No, it's much better seeing them swinging. It kind of gives you a little bit of an excitement, you know. I mean, that's all you want is to see people missing. It makes you feel like you could kind of like you have the batter, you know, like you feel like, okay, I got this guy. Let's do another one. Let's do this. And that's what you want. I think it's better off to get a guy swinging. If he's looking at your stuff, that just kind of means that he's, I don't know, guessing or just expecting something else. But yeah, what I like is for them to expect something and then they still swing at it and they miss.
Hey, last thing, because I know you have a meeting here in 3 minutes and you got to go say hi to Paul Rudd in the interim. But I've had many of our listeners, you know, where you're pitching now in San Diego, and you know how much the Mexican and Mexican American community is proud. I have 3 messages here about your entrance song. Can you tell us, is that something that's been with you throughout your professional career or something that's specific for San Diego?
No. So when I was with the Cubs, I really love to interact with fans, you know, because at the end of the day, I was once a fan of these athletes. I was once a fan of big leaguers. And I mean, there were times where I would know the feeling of how it was when I would after a fan and get there early and understand that, like, the disappointment it was when fans wouldn't be able to sign or something, an interaction when the players wouldn't really much interact with the fans. And I love that about it. And when I was in Chicago, I tried to interact with the fans with the type of music. And I had like Down with the Sickness by Disturbed when I was with them, thinking that would work. And coming home, I knew that I was home and that I knew, like, you know, and I have love for my grandma very much. And she's a very, 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 I mean, all Mexicans are very, very much fans of Vicente Hernandez. And of course, I knew the most popular song pretty much in the world of Mexican history is Volver, Volver or El Rey and all that stuff. And I knew it was going to hit. I knew what the fans were going to want it because I know my blood. And like I always say, La Raza, and it means blood, you know, and I just, most Mexicans will know what most Mexicans will like.
Well, again, even without us asking, that's what they wanted us to talk with you about. Jeremiah, I know you got a meeting here in a couple of minutes. Go say hi to Paul Rudd. Thank you for doing this. Congratulations on all the success. It's been a blast watching you, and we appreciate the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you guys. Have a good one. God bless.
All right.
I love Jeremiah Estrada. That interview was all over the place at the start, but I love Jeremiah Estrada, and I hope he continues to perform, and I hope he continues to strike everybody out. But him getting starstruck, seeing Paul Rudd walk by, was the best, the absolute best. All right, coming up next, we'll update you on this Padres-Royals game. Also, if you missed it, Kevin Acee joined us earlier in the show. You'll hear from Kevin Acee coming up next. All right, coming up next, if you missed it, Kevin Acee talking about this Padres team. You'll hear him coming up next. This update is brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone. Padres Royals, game one of their 3-game series underway right now. Top of the second inning, scoreless in Kansas City. In the NBA Finals, they are set as the Dallas Mavericks will take on the Boston Celtics starting on June 6th. Game one will be in Boston. The free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help you troubleshoot the likely cause of your pesky check engine light for free and help you save time and money down the road. Restrictions do apply. Get in the zone, AutoZone. All right, if you missed it earlier in the show, Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, joined us from Kansas City. And starting off the conversation was about Mike Shildt and his odd press conferences. Kevin, this road trip here with the Kansas City Royals, coming off of an average homestand, 3-3 homestand, you know, they play much better on the road. And Shildt has acknowledged that. And they played much better of late, and I think we all can agree with that. But when you look at this team right now, how would you describe their season so far? Dare you say roller coaster?
I get where he was coming from. I have absolutely zero problem with the questions about it. I'm not at all saying that the questions that Mike responded to in the press conference on Wednesday those were totally legitimate. But I understand where Mike's coming from in that they're playing whatever it is, 600 ball in May or something like that. And so the pace they're on would be that they're going to win 90 games. Now, here's the problem with that. That was also the case for periods of last year where they would play, win 2 of 3, right?
Yeah.
And I remember Bob Melvin saying, which is completely true, you win 2 of 3, you're going to the playoffs. Well, how it works is playoff teams, it's the rare playoff team that does not have at least one win streak of 7, 8 games. Now, it's early. Padres can very well do that, but they need to do that. They need to do that because there are going to be times where you don't win 2 out of 3. Because, you win 2 out of 3, that's great. Then one sweep or one stretch in which you go, 3-7, then you're in trouble. So, look, I think they're actually doing really well. except for, they got some starting pitching woes. I imagine Yu Darvish is going to go on the IL. If I had to bet, I would say he's going to go on the IL. They're going to be cautious with the 37-year-old pitcher. Their starting pitching has been excellent. At times has buried them, and that's bad. You even the best comeback teams, which the Padres have shown the ability to come back. You're going to do it 1 out of 10 times when you're down by 2 or 3 or 4 runs. And then, of course, and I hate to harp on it, but it's just so overwhelming. The Tatis Machado, of course, Bogarts, but he's on the IL, that their big guys are not performing. That's their real issue. I mean, anything else we want to harp on and drill down into, and that's part of the fun of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The big three not doing well is just, man, they're albatrosses.
Yeah, lots to unpack there. First off, just one more about Schulte and his, optimism with everything. I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, Kevin, because there has been pushback from us here and the fans and maybe a little bit with the media, because I don't know if Schulte understands that this team is coming off of the most disappointing season in franchise history, and there's really not a lot to use that can signal that this team is going to turn it around. And I don't know if Schulte, I guess, understands that. And I think that's where people are kind of sitting there saying to themselves, hey, Mike, there's not a big track record here. You aren't a guy that just managed the team to 95 plus wins. You're a brand new manager. You have to kind of show me it first, right?
Well, yes. And I understand that from the outside perspective, it's all valid. It's on one, everything you said, gospel right there. True. Now, Mike's point would be, and I've talked to Mike about this, not to get too much into what private conversations and stuff, but from his perspective, yeah. So this year's team is whatever it is, 16 of its last 27, 16 and 11 since April 29th. This team, he has said all along, was going to get better as the season went. So from his perspective, the guy who has only managed this year, this is, what he's working with and what he shouldn't have to answer to last year's, situation. And I will say this, I think Mike and the Padres are, I don't know if the word is paying for, but all of us have these expectations, and all of us heard all the same platitudes last year, right? And so all of us are treating 2024 as something of a continuation from 2023. And that's not the place that Mike and the Padres are coming from.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be either, because he was here last year, but he wasn't the manager of the team. Right. So I get it where he's viewing it from a different lens, that this is a brand new situation and I'm brand new here, and last year's last year, but it all kind of feels like it does go together here. Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, joining us from Kansas City here on Jon and Jim. You mentioned Yu Darvish likely, in your opinion, going on the IL. Is it just a precautionary thing because he's a 37-year-old or what?
Right. At this point, if that does happen, I imagine that's what they're going to say. And right now it's just that, look, it's not bad enough that we put him on the IL yet. It's not something we're going to say for sure that he's going to pitch on Tuesday in Anaheim like he's scheduled to do. But my understanding, talking with people, is going to, err on the side of caution and probably looking to call someone up and fill in for him on that Tuesday. And then obviously they would have to do it again too, because you got to do the 15 days you're a pitcher. He's 37 years old, hamstring. I don't care how old you are, hamstring, you don't want to mess with that. But right now he's back there and he's back in San Diego, he's getting treatment, and they're going to probably wait a couple days to make that ultimate decision. But my understanding is kind of leaning toward filling in for you.
Is this just something that fans should just expect with Yu Darvish for his remainder of time with the Padres, that he's just going to be a guy that eventually will be on the IL multiple times in a season?
That's a valid question. I mean, these are really because he's 37, because this would be his second time on there, because I guess the majority of his seasons here, there's been at least one stint. So I think that's fair to speculate on or ask that question. I hate to do it because that's just, I believe, a little unfair to a player, but the fact is, that's where we're at. And then you have to think about that, right? I think I wrote about it the other day in my newsletter. it is always going to be a concern when there's, question about Darvish, right? But I didn't write that, and it will be this way for the next 4 years after this one, because he's signed through, basically he'll be 42 by the time his contract is done. So yeah, it's all legitimate.
If he makes it to 42 here in a Padres uniform. Kevin Acee here on San Diego Sports 760, Jon and Jim in Kansas City right now. The issues with their superstars, and we talked about it earlier in the show here, Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez. Those two guys with the Kansas City Royals are having fantastic years. Probably no surprise what the record is, because their two superstars are performing. Here, on the other hand, it's complete opposite. And I argued yesterday, tell me if you agree, that this team would be probably where the Kansas City Royals are if you were having seasons from Manny and Tatis like Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez are having.
I couldn't agree with you more. I just posted a story that I didn't say it outright, but it's not preposterous to think they'd have the best record in baseball. And I know that a little bit what I posted just now is like, duh, well, we knew they weren't doing well. Take a look at, there are 5 teams that you could say were built around big threes. Okay. Cubs, even a little bit bargain basement, but Cubs, for sure. Yankees, Dodgers, Phillies, Padres. And the Padres big 3 is being out hit by the rest of the Padres, and they're being out hit by the other big 3s. Like, it's unbelievable how much the Yankees and the Dodgers are being carried by their big 3 and how bad the rest of their team is. So then conversely, the Padres supporting cast is the best among those 5 teams. Like, the rest of the players on the Padres are like, they're phenomenal in comparison to what those other teams are. So, like, if you had Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. and Xander Bogaerts before he got hurt, if you had them performing anywhere near, not even at their career norms, but anywhere near, like higher than a 581 OPS, I think, for Xander, and a 6-something for Manny Machado, like, you're telling me they wouldn't have 35 wins? That's 5 more. I mean, you're maybe 40. Like, it's crazy how poorly they're performing, and yet they're 30-29.
And would you say that however this season ends up is, say they don't make the postseason, all right? Then would you say that the brunt of the reasons why will be because of the struggles of Manny and Tatis if they continue?
I mean, I don't see that's hard to say that wouldn't be true. I mean, it's difficult for me to say I don't, but I mean, gosh, if I'm saying now that they'd be so much better, then it follows. I mean, it's just crazy how whatever else we want to find problems with, it's actually being proved, right? We all spent some time last year harping on the lack of depth for the Padres, and I did too, but I maintained that the biggest problem was the big 4. And so if you disagreed with me, well, then take a look at this year. Again, their supporting cast could hardly be better. Yeah. But they were built around top guys performing at a certain level. And so here it is. Like, that's why they're 30-29. Like, they're in the final playoff spot, just barely, but they are right now. And they're doing it despite these 2 guys. Like, that's truly incredible. It might be more incredible what they're doing now, and certainly if they can continue. See, your big problem is, like, they're always saying it's a long season. Manny and Toddy have time to pick it up. You are 100% right. Guess what? So do Jurickson Profar, Jake Cronenworth, and all these other guys that are doing well. They have time to maybe perform down to their career norms too.
Exactly.
So that's very scary. And I'm huge. I feel like I got to say it every time. Huge Jake Cronenworth guy. I think that even if he had a 700 OPS, that he adds value to this team because of the type of player he is. He's a winning player. Jurickson Profar, man, I don't care what you are. I think anybody knows, I cover the team. I don't have a dog in the fight, right? But I if you're not rooting for Jurickson Profar to be at the All-Star game in Texas where his career began, then you don't have a heart. I think these are incredible stories, and also I just think these are good players. I mean, they are, but let's be honest about it. This team is not supposed to be being carried by those 2 guys.
All right, that was Kevin Acee earlier today. We'll give you an update on this Padres-Royals game. Also, my back page coming up next. All right, my back page coming up next. All right, just a quick update here. Padres Royals scoreless, top of the third inning. The holy grail of Star Wars toys, Brent, is what?
Probably the Jawa with the felt robe.
You're very confident about that.
Yeah.
It's actually the Boba Fett action figure.
Oh, with the rocket.
With the rocket.
Yeah, with the firing rocket for it got discontinued for being a choking hazard.
Right.
Yes.
And so that toy, it's impossible to find. You can't find it because they stopped making it. And I think that is considered the holy grail of Star Wars toys because of what it's sold for today at an auction. The rocket firing Boba Fett prototype. So it wasn't even like really mass produced.
That's why it's worth so much.
Yeah. Just the prototype has become the most expensive toy ever sold. It's considered the holy grail of Star Wars toys. A 1979 rocket firing Boba Fett prototype sold for a world record $525,000 at an auction today. There's only approximately believed to be 100 of these Boba Fett action figures. So it's like the rarest of rare Star Wars action figure out there.
How much did it sell for?
$525,000. The previous high for the rocket firing Boba Fett prototype was set in June of 2022 for $236,000. So it's about a $300,000 increase there for the prototype rocket firing Boba Fett action figure. I mean, imagine if you had that, Brent, and you just threw it away or gave it away.
If I would have had it, I would have lost the rocket right away. So I would have had it with no rocket.
Dude, that is incredible. Do you want to feel old right now?
I am old, so.
Well, older. Today, just today we have one birthday. Sunday we have another birthday. Just to make you feel very old out there, one of the best sports movies of all time, to me, Major League.
Oh yeah, it's a great one.
Major League to me is one of the best.
Filmed that in Milwaukee County Stadium. Wasn't even in Cleveland.
Yep, Bob Barker, one of the best sports movies.
Bob Uecker, not Bob Barker.
Uecker, not Bob Barker. Bob Barker was in Happy Gilmore.
That's Happy Gilmore.
Yeah,
That's
Bob
Price
Uecker.
is Wrong, bitch.
Yeah, boom. Jake Taylor,
Yes.
the catcher.
Yeah, Tom Berenger.
Yeah, he turned 75 today.
Yeah.
Pedro Serrano on Sunday turned 70.
Yeah, from 24. Yeah.
That will make you feel very, very old. Another Star Wars item. The C-3PO Goldenrod card, Brent, just sold for a record $25,000. One of 5 PSA 10s in existence. The last was sold for $4,999 in May of 2022 or 2020. So this are 4 years. Moral of the story, kids: keep your toys and don't open them, because if you don't open them, one day
buy doubles, open one to play with, and
right,
one to store.
one day you could be rich. John will be back on Monday. I want to thank Kevin Acee. I want to thank all of you out there for joining us. I want to thank Brent, everybody on YouTube, everybody on the iHeartRadio app. We'll be back on Monday. We'll be recapping this Padres Royals series. Until then, keep it right here on San Diego Sports 760. Great rest of your night, everybody.